Hi guys, I'm Maria of Pink Pony Design, and I thought you might want to watch me make some edge paint on this Sendai wallet. It's a lined version, and I haven't put on the buttons yet because I haven't found ones in the color I like. This lovely vinyl is made by Lullan store. It's a Swedish store, but she ships internationally. So if you're interested, I think you can still find it there. Anyhow, this is what I use. I have a kit from Giardini with a lot of colors, so I can mix and match as I want till I get one that matches. And I'm going to do that. I use a lighter to kind of burn the edges. I'll show you in a second. I have my little applicator, which should spin, but needs a cleaning. Spins as you roll it on. And a piece of sandpaper to kind of clean up the edges as I go. Anyway, so let's kind of get this out of the way for now, and I'll start by kind of burning. Oh, this is made in an alternative way, by the way. I've cut this one so that you can fit the pattern to a A4 paper or piece of fabric, A4 piece of fabric, so that you, and also if you find it difficult to sew this section here, you can use this method as well. Anyway, that's not what I was supposed to talk about. I was supposed to talk about edge paint. Anyway, this is a new thing for me, so I'm sure there are people with even better methods out there. But this is how I do it, and I thought I might share it with you. So what I do is I just run my light shortly over the edges, so that if I have any little pieces of threads or something, it'll burn and curl up. This vinyl is really nice and even, so there wasn't much, but I do it anyway just to be sure. Oh, there you can see a bit melted away. So there we go. Then I will use the base coat, and I use the dense one. I try the thinner one, but this one is kind of my favorite. So I'm just gonna roll this a bit, make sure it's nicely mixed, and then I'm gonna apply it. And when I apply, that was on very well. When I apply this, I'm usually not super careful, since I'm gonna, that was hopeless, God, it's stuck. Since I'm gonna be filing down these edges anyway. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to paint these sections here and around here. So let's do it. And I've trimmed this so it's as even as possible, but it's of course not going to be perfectly even. So that's what the edge coat is going to help us with. So I just kind of, since my roller doesn't roll anymore, I just kind of dab and go. This will kind of soak in to the vinyl. As you can see, it's already kind of sunk in as we go, so it's not like super important. And there I should have burned more, since you could see the little fibers of the vinyl. If you could. Sorry for the interruption, guys, my alarm went off. Since you could see the little fibers of the vinyl, it was not, I should have burnt the edges more carefully, but I can just paint that down with the edge paint anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much. I don't like worrying too much. There's so much to worry about anyway than worrying about our hobby, right? So I'm just kind of dabbing this on, and as you can see, it kind of disappears really quickly in places, and that's good because we're going to do this 2 times. Sorry about my shaking. My medication makes me really shaky, which is super frustrating when you do stuff like this, but I try anyway. Oh, also, if you get, like I've done here, I managed to get some on the outside. I just use my finger and wipe it off. So that's nothing to worry about either. Anyway, this does take a bit of time. So there's not really much to say about it. It's just be careful. Make sure you check if you have accidentally like ended up outside, colored outside the lines. And just use your finger to remove it. There we go. Anyway, since I don't have much to say regarding this method, I'm just gonna fast forward this for you guys. So I'll stop talking now. So these little thin edges here, I only coat to prevent unraveling. So I'm not going to put any color on that because it's super hard to, which I noticed as I was doing it, of course, super hard to get single layers of the base coat or color coat actually to look nice and even. So I'm just gonna keep this with a layer of base coat that's clear, that won't show very much if it's not perfectly even. Anyway, I'm gonna let this dry for about 20-30 minutes, and while I do that, I'm gonna start mixing the color paint for this. So I thought you could join me for that too. Hang on while I put this away and I'll be back. And we're back. So I have these tiny little plastic jars that I've used to mix my edge paint in. They can at least keep for a couple of days in this, which it doesn't otherwise. So I've been using them and I'm really happy. They're like the cheap makeup kind that you buy at like the Chinese store here in Portugal. But if you're somewhere else, I'm sure you can find them in your hobby or craft store. Anyway, I'm gonna want to mix kind of a light blue, even lighter blue than this one, I think. So I'm gonna start with this light blue and I roll it a little just to mix it. And to not get bubbles in it, I don't shake it. I know I did shake my base coat, but I try not to shake it, even though that is my natural instinct. So I'm gonna add a bit of white as well to this mix. And you can really mix and match with this, by the way. It's such a fun kit. And this is the dense kit I bought, but I'm sure you can get away with the standard one too. Just maybe do an extra layer or two. Anyway, let's see. Do this and this. Let's try to do this little mix. There we go. And you don't really use a lot. It's like a very small amount that's used. So this set is going to last me forever, I bet. Also, I've got just like a toothpick to mix this with. I'm sure there are better tools for this, but this is what I had on hand. Anyway, so let's see. This is still a little darker than I would like. Let me show you. Pull this into the frame without tipping it over. There we go. Can you see it? So as you can see, it's like a rainbowy light blue. I hope that shows on the camera. So that's too dark. So I'm going to add a bit more white and see where we end up. And this is not a precise process for me. I'm just playing around. It's just really fun for me. I'm like a kid, I like playing with paints. Who doesn't? Anyway, that's better, but I still think it's too dark. I should have added much less of the blue. But you know, you live, you learn. There we go. Maybe that will do it. Let's see. I think maybe it's because there is a hint of the green in this like kind of metallic vinyl that makes this look off. So I'm gonna add just tiny splash or drop of green, I think. Oh, let's roll this first to see if that makes the color better. But I just really want a small amount. So I think I'm gonna do something like this to just kind of get a tiny bit in there. And this part you can of course skip. I'll give you a link in the bottom of the video description so you can just skip to the parts you want to watch. So if you don't want to watch me make paint colors, you absolutely don't have to get to the content. There we go. That felt much better, didn't it, with the green in it? I hope you can see this. If you can't, well, just skip it. I'm gonna add another drop of green, but I'm gonna have to get another toothpick. So there we go. And I'm back. And let's do this. Oops, that was a lot. There we go. Let's see what that gives us. Now we're talking. Here we go. There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. That's going to be perfect. Let me put this away before I accidentally pour it out. There we are. I think this will be a beautiful color with it. Anyway, I still have to let my base coat dry a bit more. So I'm going to come back when it's dry. Okay guys, so this has now been drying for 25 minutes. So you can feel that it's dry to the touch. And that's when I bring out a really fine sandpaper for wood. And I just go over the edge with it to smooth it out. Since we want this edge to be even and kind of nicely rounded if possible. So we want to remove any little humps or bumps. And this will make it look ugly again, but don't worry, there's several layers left, so that won't be noticeable. And I just use my fingers to kind of feel the edge. And depending on how smooth your edges are, this will be easier or more difficult. So like here, where I have a really ugly edge, will take a bit more work. Maybe even I will just take my scissors and kind of hack it, round it a little. There we go. Totally cheating, but who will know? And then continue all the way around. And let's give this edge a little going over too. Sorry, my fingers are really shaky. That's corticosteroids and cytotoxic medication does to you. So just try to ignore my issues with that. There we go. So now this is all kind of smooth and nice. or as smooth as nice as it's gonna get. Let me clean this by putting it all on the floor. I have this little microfiber cloth that I use to kind of clean off my instruments or tools when I work. And then we go for the base coat again. I do 2 layers normally because that's been enough for me when I'm working with the dense edge coat. And I kind of try to put it on rather more evenly this time, since it's already absorbed a bunch of this. It won't absorb as much, so this will more kind of build, if that makes sense. Again, I do this rather quickly and I'm not super careful since it's not the final paint layers. Whoops, that was a lot. And just sort of work my way around. Now keep an eye out to see that I haven't messed up. Here you can see it's a little uneven and a little, I hope that focuses for you. It's a little uneven and stuff, but that doesn't matter. I will sand it all down before I put on my color. So that's nothing to worry about. There we go. And managed to get a little outside my lines here. And here I'm dripping. I put on too much. So I'll just do a little like this to save myself some sanding later. I'm a lazy person. I don't want to do much more work than I have to, so if there's a shortcut, I usually take it. And like I said, with my fingers and hands being as they are at the moment, this is trickier than it usually is. So if it looks super weird and squiggly and difficult, it's not for a normal person. I normally don't get this much on the outside, but I figured it would always maybe make someone relax about this, that it's not super difficult. Because before I'd done this before, because I held off on doing this for many years because I was so scared that I would destroy my stuff, my creations. And I didn't really want to do that. So I held off on doing edge coat for such a long time because I thought like one slip up and your pretty bag or wallet is totally ruined. But that's luckily not the case. I mean, stuff like vinyls are super forgiving since you can just wipe them off. If you're working with like a cork fabric, they're less forgiving since they absorb color. So when you're doing the color, you have to be a bit more careful on a cork, but you can still remove it. I've used nail polish remover. Try this on a spot or a scrap first though, but I've used it with great success to remove the color. Like when I do that, and on the cork there will still be a little color left since it has absorbed it. I just use a bit of nail polish remover on a cotton swab and just kind of dab it out, and that's worked really great for me. But since there are a ton of different nail polish removers and cork fabrics, I recommend you try it on a scrap before you try it on your actual project. Anyway, this is going to dry again for about 20 to 30 minutes, so I'm going to put it here and hope that none of the cats will knock it over when I'm away, and I'll come back and show you how we continue. Hi guys, let's continue. This one has dried for well over 24 hours now, so it's definitely well and dried. So what we're going to do is, you can see I have a little bump here. I hope you can see that. And it's rather uneven, the edge. So I'm going to go over it again with the sandpaper to kind of even everything out. and make sure we have, oops, have a nice smooth edge for our colored paint. There's something so satisfying about the process of sanding this. I don't know why, but it just, I mean, you can see the hint of how pretty it's gonna be, and it's so nice for some reason. Anyway, so this part here was really uneven to start with, since my cutting was not great. I was too lazy to start up the cutting machine, my Silhouette Cameo. So I did it by hand, and I shouldn't have when I'm this shaky. So I pay for it now. Let's see if we have a corner. So there we go. I've felt every edge to make sure I haven't missed any bumps or uneven areas. So it's time to bring out the paint we prepared yesterday. And here is, this is a bit more fiddly than the base coat, since we want to make sure it gets on very nicely and evenly. So you can either choose to use your tool or do what I do and use a toothpick, because I want to, it's a little big and it doesn't spin very nicely anymore. I have to clean it. So I'm just gonna make this easy for myself and use my little dab and go kind of solution to this. So I kind of dab a little at the edge with a toothpick, and since it's so fine, the edge I can get in the areas I wouldn't have been able to with my metal tool. So I'm going to sand this layer too a bit if need be, so it's not like super important that it gets perfect this time around, but still I save myself some work the nicer I get it. So I try to kind of even it out. And if you, like me, paint on this, just use your finger and pull it away. If you're using a cork fabric or something that will kind of soak up your paint color, just use a little nail polish remover to dab at it with a Q-tip to get rid of the excess paint. That should work for most cork fabrics, actually. There we go. And I just kind of dab and drag, I guess, to get this looking as nice as I can. This is a rather wide part here, since I have 3 layers of vinyl. So I use quite a lot of paint to cover it. And I try to get it all the way out to the edges, but not over the edges. And I look from both sides to ensure I haven't missed anything or dripped anywhere. So I'm really excited to see how this will look with the top coat on, because I use a top coat over the 2 layers of color to get a really nice shine to the edge, and it's also hides any kind of imperfections you have in your layering of the color. So I really love love the top coat. For a beginner at this like myself and someone with less than steady hands, it's like the top coat of a nail polish, really. You know, all those little unevenness are kind of hidden in the shiny layer. So I really recommend getting a bottle of that too if you're gonna try this. So here we go. And I guess there's not really much more to say about this process. It's just rather time consuming, really. You dab and kind of dab and drag, I guess, again, is what I do. Here I've got like way too much, so I try to even it out a little before I move on. Because if it gets too thick, we don't want to do too much sanding of the colored layer, so we risk coming through to the base if we don't have to. So that's why I try to be good, make this look nice the first time around. So, and when I do this normally, since as you can tell I'm rather shaky and my fingers are rather unsteady from corticosteroids and other things, I usually do this with my my wallet like leaned on the edge of the table, but since I couldn't get a good angle for you guys with it there, I figured I'll try to do it like this. So don't hesitate to use support for your wallet or your hands if you need it, if you're like me or shaky. I love cheating. Easy ways out. I mean, this is supposed to be simple and fun, right? Our hobby. So I love these like aids that make stuff simpler, like the right press feet for the right work or stuff like that. So I'm the same way when it comes to this. It's supposed to be simple and fun. But that's also the thing. Using the right products for the right job is also kind of important here, because you get that nice flexibility to the right kind of paint that you wouldn't get with a lower quality product, maybe. Because after all this work, you kind of really want to make sure this stays on, right? Because it takes quite a bit of time. I mean, if you have more than one wallet or edge you need to paint, recommend you kind of gather them up and do them all in one go, so you can like keep painting while listening to an audiobook or something. Is what I usually do. Right now I'm re-listening to Outlander, the books. It's really nice, because I mean the TV series is out, but that is so much more action-packed, I guess, than the books. So it's nice to relax with the books in between the TV series episodes. So I guess I'm kind of happy with this. I hope you can see this and that the focus is good, but anyway, don't go back too much like I did now. That's so stupid, because this has already started to dry, so you just make it worse. Just leave it after you've moved away from that section. Just leave it as it is, because otherwise you just get yourself more work. Look how ugly this became now, like bumpy. I hope you can see that. It's like super bumpy where I was meddling with it. And this section here where I didn't meddle with it when it started to dry, it's much nicer. So don't meddle, just try to stay away. Okay, and I'm gonna do this one too. And I actually usually skip the small edges here because they're so tricky to get nice. But I kind of go all the way out here. And here you can see I didn't reach all the way to the edge. So I'm gonna keep on filling up here. And keep fiddling with this. And again, if you're happy with seeing me do the same thing over and over, you can skip to the next part of the video where I show you when this has dried. But if you want to see me fiddle, you're more than welcome to. It's nice to have company when you do this, even if that company is virtual and on YouTube. Feels like I have someone to talk to. Since none of the cats are actually up here working with me today, which is really weird. There's usually always at least one cat somewhere in the sewing room when I'm here. So I'm feeling a little lonely. And I feel less weird talking to you guys than talking to myself, you know. So this kind of company is very nice. There we go. And the final touches here. There we go. Yeah, that will kind of do. There we go. So I'm going to put this away and let it dry for 30 minutes. And then I'll come back and kind of continue this with you. Thank you for watching. So here we go. This has dried for 30 minutes again. And you can see it's now got a really nice covering, but I've missed a few spots. That was not really careful of me. So with the second layer, I'm going to cover those up. And also if there are any unevenness, I'm going to file that down or sand that down, like here, where we were looking before, where I was dabbling when I shouldn't be. There will be a little unevenness, so I'm going to just go over with the same super fine sandpaper again. I'm a little lighter with my hand now with the sandpaper than I am when I'm doing the base coat, since we don't want to go through too much of it. So I'm just kind of evening out the edges and just getting a somewhat even edge here. Here's a little uneven as well. So, like I said, these just take a bit of time, but the satisfaction when you get these nice edges is totally worth it. And here I've got a little bubble and some small unevenness as well, so I'm just gonna go over that too. And here I've got some little bumps as well, some threads most likely sticking up. There we go. Now it's all very nice and even, so oops. Let's go on and do the last color layer, and I'm going to do that again with my toothpick. Here we go. I'm just going to make sure I don't have any leftovers from the sandpaper, because that will show up under the color. That's not very nice. And now I'm really going to be careful so I don't go back and double on the already starting to dry sections, because this is the final layer, so there's no more fixing the stuff I mess up. So I try to be more careful, and I painted my nail and my finger, so I try to be a bit more careful this time around and just go slowly and making sure everything is nice and even before I move on from a spot. And I try to make sure I really look from all sides now, so I don't leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. . 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. 'Cause I don't want to leave any unpainted sections, or like you can see I've done here. There's a tiny bit of white there from the side of the vinyl. And there I accidentally got some on the front of my vinyl. I don't want that. So I just carefully go over every little bit and piece of this, letting it take time, because this is a bit of a time-consuming process. If you've got any tips for good audiobooks, I'll gladly take them. I really like Outlander. I love The Wheel of Time. I really love fantasy stuff. That's my main genre. So if you have any nice fantasy books that are available as audiobook in English, I would love those tips, because you can never have enough books, right? Especially when you work in front of your sewing machine or like this all day, because then you can keep yourself entertained. And I know I said this before, but in case you're skipping around in the video and only just see this, if you get color on something that isn't like this vinyl, where I can just use my finger and wipe it away, but are using like a cork fabric or something that will absorb the color that you're working with, I really recommend that you use a little bit of nail polish. You should try this on a not on your wallet, but on a scrap piece first, to see that your nail polish is good for this. I'm gonna just use this and wipe my nail, since I've been using it for removing excess. And as you can see, that it's super easy actually. You just swipe along with your finger, and what's outside the edge there just kind of goes away. And I keep dipping my finger in the paint. I'm sorry guys, this is just not an ideal solution for me, because I keep wanna put my head in the camera, or where the camera is, and trust me, you don't want to see that. And I'm shaking too much when I'm lifting it so I can see what I'm doing. So this might not be my best work, but at least you can see the technique I'm using, even if it's not as neat as it would be otherwise. There we go. I should probably make like another couple of wallets in this vinyl while the edge paint in this color is still wet, because it does dry quite quickly, even if my little jars have lids on them. So I try to use it up if I can. Because no matter how careful I am, I always end up mixing more paint than I need, because you need so little. But at the same time, you don't want to risk having not enough for the 2 layers, because me at least never managed to mix the same color twice. All of my custom mixes are one time only. So there's a fine balance there between not wasting paint and not making too little. I see the daylight is waning outside, so I hope you can still see what I'm doing. And I mean, if you want to jump ahead to the top coat, that I would totally recommend, because this is so slow. But I figure someone might actually want to see the doubling that I'm doing, and like how I'm working the paint to try to get nice and even layer. So I'll try not to speed up this part, since it's kind of important. And on another topic, since I'm just sitting here anyway and I don't have much more to say about the color layer, I got a gel polish lamp for my birthday, and that's why my nails are so pretty for once. They're so much fun, and it actually stays nice for about 2 weeks before I had to redo it. And there's so many pretty colors, so that's another kind of edge paint I guess you can use. There we go. That looks quite nice. Oh, I missed a piece. Of course I missed a piece. Right here where it's most visible. No, why am I doing this? I should not be doing this. Okay, do as I say, not as I do. Let me see. Now I managed to get paint everywhere. There we go. Let's do the final layer here too. And I need to get a good grip somehow. There we go, that's better. There we go. Missed a piece there too. Jeez. Like I said, normally I have my head like right up in this, but since that will get in the way of the camera, I'm trying to do this from a bit more distance, but I'm nearly as blind as I'm deaf, so it's a bit difficult. But it is what it is. At least we're having fun, right? There we go. Like I say, I'm at no means a professional at this. I only just started doing edge paint, but since a couple of you have asked me how I do it, I figured we'll make a video, and then in a year or so, when I have even more better tips and ideas on how to use this, I'll make another one and show you what I've learned. And I mean, if you have any tips, if you're watching this, but you know better than I do, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And any tips and tricks you have, please feel free to comment, because let's help each other, right? Anyway, this is gonna dry for another 30 minutes, and by then, oh no. By then, oh God, I can't just leave it alone. By then, the sun will probably have gone down, so I'll continue tomorrow. Hi guys, I'm back. This is day 3 of my attempt of getting this little Sendai wallet edge coated. Anyway, I'm fairly happy with most of the edge coating. However, here I managed to poke a little and I got some unevenness. But since I'm planning on using the iridescent edge coat, I figured the iridescent will be really cool with the iridescence or glitter on the vinyl. So I'm gonna try this on the light blue actually. I was gonna just leave it with the gloss, but I changed my mind. So let's try this, see how it goes. And by the way, if you're thinking of putting on edge coat, or wearing actually your favorite t-shirt, don't, because edge coat sticks really well to fabric. Don't ask me how I know. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is actually so cool because it goes on kind of opaque, whitish, milky color. And then when it dries, all of the glitters come out. So I think that will be really cool on this. I managed to get quite a lot of bubbles in this, even though I just roll it between my fingers. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't get any bubbles in the finished sort of painting. The finished painting. Yeah, we can say that, right? Well, as long as you understand what I'm talking about, I'm happy. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. And I'm trying not to make a too thick layer of this, but just like a little thin sort of coat so that I don't get any bumps or bubbles in this final layer because there's nothing more I can do once this final layer is on. And there I had a bubble, so now I have a bump instead. So try to keep a close eye on what you're doing here to make sure you don't have to go back and poke at your already painted sections, because that will quickly become not nice. And like I said, this will not be my prettiest work since I'm both shaky and sitting in a way that I can't really see what I'm doing since I have the phone in the way. But I'm hoping it will do anyway. It's just for me. So I think it will be enough to make me happy anyway. There we go. So let's do this. I know there are several makers of edge coat. The Buckle Guy has one, I know, if you're in the US. I've only tried the Giardini from Italy. Since I'm in Europe, the shipping is fairly reasonable and quick. So, but don't hesitate to try different brands. I know a lot of people are happy with many other brands of edge coat too. So don't let what I've got here limit you in any way. Go. Oops, that was a lot. And there we go. Let's turn this around a bit. And I really want to put this down on the corner, but if I do that, I will mess up what I've already painted on. So let's not do that. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. I hope I didn't just destroy all my hard work by putting on this iridescent kind of violet green coat, but I think not. I think it will be really cool. And as you can see, I get a lot of bubbles on. There's so much bubbles in this, and I don't know why. I thought I was really careful just rolling it between my fingers, but I managed to get bubbles anyway. So I tried to sort of get rid of them as I go, because they will show after it dried. So try to sort of get rid of them while the paint is really wet. There we go, but still bubbles. I just want to say bubbles, 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 like from Finding Nemo, but I was going to restrain myself, but in the end I couldn't. So hopefully there are other Finding Nemo fans out there that know what I'm going on about. There we go. So much bubbles. This kind of edge here is really not my prettiest work, I have to say. I should have looked at this closer before I put it down yesterday, but I was really, really tired, so I just went to bed instead. Here we are. Dun, dun, dun. We're nearly there. Ta-ta! I think I'm happy with this. I think this is as good as it's gonna get anyway. With the somewhat shoddy base work I did. Anyway, there we go. I'm gonna put this away. I clean off my little applicator. And I'm gonna let this dry. I will pop in a button or two. Well, one actually. And then I will show you how this turned out. And hopefully it turned out nice. And I don't have to be ashamed of this with you. Anyway, see you in a while. Okay guys, so here we have it. The finished Sendai wallet. Oops. And apparently I'm unable to close it. There we go. I chose a little heart button for it. I thought that was really cute. And I apologize for the weird lighting, but I think it was the best way to kind of show the little glimmer or shine or glitter I got from the top coat. And it's this one, the iridescent green violet one. Oops, sorry, there you go. And if you paint this on a black, it really turns green violet shimmery beautiful. But I've never tried it on another color before, and now on this light blue I just get this tiny little bit of shimmer. I hope you can tell from the screen, but it's really beautiful. It really matches actually the the glitter of the vinyl, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. It's subtle, but it's there, and I'm so happy with the result. I think it's really pretty. And I of course managed to mash up the button. That's why you should install it before you saw the bag. But anyway, it closes, and that's key. It's only for me, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this, even though it's really, really long. And I hope you don't hesitate to try edge coat like I did for a long, long time, because it's such a fun way of finishing your raw edge items, or making them not raw edge anymore, basically, because they look super professional with the glitter or whatever color you choose to do it with. So this took me 3 days, but that's just because I'm sick. It won't take you 3 days. You just need the wait for the drying, and then you can sew something else in the meantime. Anyway, thank you so very much for watching. I hope you had a good day. Thank you.